Here is the Ollech and Wajs C-1000A, and that A stands for anniversary, as this is the 60th anniversary model of the Ollech and Wajs Caribbean model, the first 1,000 meter diver that was made in conjunction with Jenny watches all the way back in 1964. These anniversary models were announced last summer, but deliveries didn't start until October. And there was a limited edition of 56 pieces that went out first. Those used the ETA 2824-2 movements. Now, the non-limited models used the Soprod Newton P092, a familiar movement if you are an OW fan. And there is a standard version, or you can opt for a COSC version, albeit at a higher price. Now, the one I have here is the non-COSC, and it retails for just over $2,000, and the COSC one, $2,356. This, for the most part, is a pretty faithful recreation to the original Caribbean, and I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag here in the intro. This is easily my favorite OW watch I have reviewed, and probably my favorite since the company was sold back in 2017. I will tell you all why in this review, so let's dive in. So yes, this is my favorite Ollech and Wajs I have reviewed to date, and it's probably going to be hard to top this as my favorite OW, though I will offer a few things where I do think this C-1000A can be improved. But before we get into all that, let's go ahead and talk about the original and this new release. In 1964, this was a big deal to make a watch that could survive the depths of 1,000 meters. A lot of other brands were working on 600-meter watches, so 1,000 meters was just crazy. Ollech and Jenny, two very small companies, are the one who accomplished it, and they did so with a monoblock case, a very round case with very triangular pointy lugs, and those lugs have been referred to by fans as vampire lugs. This anniversary model does look a lot like the original in many ways, but of course it is very much a modern dive watch in terms of build, but it's got that awesome vintage look about it. Now, instead of me rambling on all about the original model, I'm going to link to OW's site that explains more and a fantastic article from Oracle Time that is very much worth the read. Look for those down in the description. So let's go ahead and talk about the new model here, and I'll get all the specs up on screen. And the first thing I want to discuss is the look. I love the look of this model, and I mean I really love it. The case design with those pointy lugs, the large crown, that awesome fine coin edge bezel, even the 12-hour insert. It really does look vintage, which of course is the appeal here, yet we have a standard screw-down case back and crown, no monoblock case, and of course we have a large domed sapphire, 316L steel as well, and a modern movement of course. Now, when it comes to the overall look of the new model and the original, as I said, they did a pretty faithful recreation with a few changes. The dial is matte black with the updated OW logo, and the very small text model name and water resistance above the 6 location is there. But I do wish they still called it the Caribbean, but maybe they can't do that with the Jenny Caribbean still being made again. The hour and minute hand are pretty much the same, a nice brushed steel. And the second hand is a distinct arrow this time, as opposed to the original's diamond marker. The date is now at the 6 o'clock position with a nice border, and OW went with their more modern triangle and rectangle applied indices, which has become their signature on the modern watches, and I do prefer this compared to the old ones. And I want to talk about the bezel, but before I do, I need to rant about this sapphire crystal. If there's really any one thing I would change about this watch, it is the crystal. It's a giant double dome sapphire, a bubble if you will, and while it does have an inner AR coating, it basically acts like a mirror at times. Honestly, while wearing it, it's not much of an issue, as I'm never not able to see the time, but for photography and video, it was a major pain in the butt. For those who aren't trying to film or photograph it for professional use, it probably isn't much of a big deal. But trying to do this video and not have you see all of my studio lights and the crystal in every shot has been fun. And as I've heard over the years, crystals like this are great for underwater viewing, and I really do like the look as far as on the wrist and that side profile, but no, you will almost see everything reflected in that crystal. The bezel, as I stated earlier, has a beautiful coin or serrated edge, and the traction and the grip as well as the action is wonderful, with precise clicks and virtually no backplay. Now, I did read a few articles that referenced a bidirectional bezel, and I'm not sure where that came from or if that was just a typo on the copy that the brand sent in for the press release, or if the limited 56 pieces had a bidirectional bezel. Either way, this one is a unidirectional bezel like you would expect on a diver these days, and it is 120 clicks. I also saw reference to the bezel insert being mineral, and I did confirm this with the marketing director. It is in fact mineral. I would prefer it to be sapphire, but the way it is inset, how thin it is in the massive sapphire crystal, I doubt it's going to be getting scratched on the regular. The bezel is a 12-hour with a 20-minute dive scale. It's a thin bezel, but still readable, and I like how they did the hash marks and the arrow markings in a light orange color, almost the same color as the cadmium yellow strap. The large crown is signed, and apparently if you get the COSC version, the crown is signed differently to designate the certification, but either way, just like all of the crowns on modern OW watches, this one is large, easy to grip, and nice to turn as well. Let's take a look at the case and those awesome triangle lugs, but before we do, have you noticed something about this case I haven't mentioned yet? This watch is completely satin brushed. The case, the crown, the bezel, the case back, there's not a hint of high polish anywhere, and I love it. And yes, this is a distinctive looking case. I love the profile on it, and you can see that the mid case is actually pretty thin, and then you get that 15.8 millimeters of thickness from the case back and that domed sapphire crystal. You can see how under the mid case where it jets out. Now, I don't find this thickness to be an issue, but this is not a svelte watch at all. The case back is pretty much similar to the other current OW models like the regular C-1000, and I don't mind it at all. It's clean, it's simple, and it's not flashy. Inside is the Soprod Newton P092, and as I've talked about many times in the past, there are some out there that do not care for the Newton movement as they have had issues with it, but I've never experienced any, so your mileage may vary. Setting the time and winding has been without issue, no hand movement issues, nor power reserve issues. Now, I think with any movement, there are bound to be batches with problems, and hopefully as they continue to produce these movements, the problems will lessen. In fairness, anything I have read does not seem to be a widespread issue. You can get this model with either the cadmium yellow, which is almost a faded gold color strap, or add some cash and get the OW mesh bracelet. Now, I've never been one to like nylon straps, but I will say this raft style strap does fit me just fine. And even though this is a thick watch, I've not found it to be top heavy as the strap does fit me well. I also love the buckle on this piece and that it fits like a two-piece strap would, but this is a $2,000 watch on a nylon strap. I don't care for the mesh personally, and I at least would like to see it on a tropic rubber thrown in with the raft strap, or offer a beads of rice bracelet, which they had on the originals, and that would look perfect on this recreation. Are you ready for another surprise though? All the markers on the indices are loomed on this model. Yes, unlike many of the OW watches I have reviewed where only certain markers were loomed, this one is fully loomed up, including the 20-minute dive scale on the bezel. Now, it's not the brightest or the longest lasting lume, but it does do the job. But don't expect this one to be blinding you in your sleep. I have to say though, I do love this watch. It's got character, it's got charm, and it just doesn't have that off-the-shelf feel about it or the genericness that so many dive watches seem to have these days. I love how it wears, I like the thickness, and unlike their regular version of the C-1000, this one looks and wears balanced, and I have to say, I am a big sucker for this color of strap. This cadmium yellow is just so cool. If they can make a leather strap this color or get close with a rubber strap, oh man, that would be great. The crystal most will probably love, and if you do photography, you'll probably understand my frustration. But as I said, it hasn't deterred me from enjoying it when worn at all, and it does add to the vintage vibe. For me, I wouldn't upgrade to the COSC, but it's only another $350, and if COSC is important to you, it doesn't seem to be overpriced. I would still love to see a beads of rice bracelet option, but as is, this is a funky looking piece, very vintage, and pretty faithful to the original. Check out more with my written article and, of course, at the OW website. Both are linked in the description. If you like this video, hit that subscribe button, and while you're here, go check out some more of our reviews. Check us out on Instagram and Facebook as well. Links are below. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.